I've been watching the convention this week, and it is the best convention I have seen. And I think it was better than the Reagan conventions, and those were pretty good. This had everything you needed in the Republican convention. It had all of the right people speaking, I thought, all the way through the week. If people spent the time and watched it, actually listened to it, they saw a very different party than what they have ever seen before. At least I did. And last night, a very, very different Donald Trump. I've never seen him like this. I've never heard him speak this way. I've never seen him take the stage the way he did. He was humbled. And I think, he pushed back on the crowd, or the crowd pushed back on him halfway through the speech. He said, I was not supposed to be here tonight. I'm not supposed to be here. And they started chanting, yes, you were, yes, you were. And he said, no, I wasn't. An assassin wanted me gone, and I wasn't supposed to address you today. But God saved my life. And it was not a moment of boasting. It was a moment, I thought, of clarity. Now, there's something else that happened that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. In fact, I haven't heard anybody talk about this yet. And I think it's very, very telling. Donald Trump has kind of shifted gears into this zone of, I know what I know what I feel, and I know who the other side is. And they're dismissed. He's not fighting them like he was before. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not fighting. The one thing about Donald Trump is he's a fighter. But it's almost as if he feels that the outcome is already there. And he doesn't need to push the envelope anymore. He just needs to say the truth. And so he came out quiet, humbled. He did about 30 minutes of just riveting material that he wrote himself. He tore up the speech, wrote this speech himself, which is also not Donald Trump. He usually will ad-lib. He doesn't usually write his own material, but he wrote the first 20 minutes and probably the last 20 minutes as well. The rest of it was kind of a stump speech, but he came out humbled and told the story of the assassination. He said at one point Joe Biden's name. And at one point when he said it, he said, I'm only going to say this once. And he talked about telling the story of the assassination and said, it's too painful, so I won't tell this story again. You'll hear it the first and last time from me tonight. When he brought up Joe Biden, do you remember the context, Stu, on when he first brought up Joe Biden and then apologized and said, I'm not going to say his name anymore?
Yeah, he was talking about the 10 worst presidents of all time and how all of them added up together wouldn't get to Joe Biden, and that's when he said his name. Right.
And he said, I didn't want it to be unclear who that president was that was worse than the 10 worst combined. He said, but I'm not going to mention his name anymore. And to me, that may be lowering the temperature a little bit. I think that's one way to read it. But I think more importantly, I think he strategically is now looking at the fact that Joe Biden's not going to be the nominee. I just don't believe he's going to be the nominee. And it's only a matter of time. And Donald Trump, why waste his hour of television, or in his case, 90 minutes of television, making a case against a guy who's not going to be running? And that's why he kept saying they made these things. This administration did this, and did not say Donald Trump, or did not say Joe Biden, and did not say Kamala Harris. Now the Kamala Harris thing, I think is because he just doesn't know if Kamala is the one running, and why look back at the people who are so far behind you? at this particular point. But the hopeful side of me says that he didn't mention Kamala because he knows it's going to be Michelle Obama. And I only say hopeful because Stu will owe me, I think it's $4,000, isn't it, Stu?
3. It's definitely 3. It's 100% 3. And even that, with inflation, I don't even know if we can really count 3,000. I think we should probably lower. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
It should be 5, yeah. Because 3 just isn't what it was, 6 months ago when we made this bet.
I will say thank God for Biden-inflation, because by the time I pay this bet off, it will be worth nothing. $3,000 will be like what a loaf of bread is.
We won't be able to buy a sandwich. No, we won't. All right, so there's a couple of stories here that explain the speech. The first one is the New York Times, and the New York Times. Trump, in RNC speech, struggles to turn page on the past. Well, it's a little difficult, when the past involved assassination attempts. A little difficult there. Donald J. Trump has been a man long undone by himself. He imperiled his presidency and political campaigns with personal grudges, impulsiveness, and an appetite for authoritarianism. It's really strange how they keep seeing authoritarianism in Donald Trump when he's not done anything authoritarian. He might say, we should go after the press and take away their license until he's reminded they don't have a license and he wasn't serious in the first place. Lock her up until he wasn't serious in the first place. I can't find the authoritarian streak in him myself on anything that he's actually done. And then they say, also, he's caused himself problems for his casual approach to the rule of law. Now, Stu, out of He Who Shall Not Be Named and Donald Trump, which one has the casual approach to the rule of law?
I don't know. Should we go over the latest court to overturn his student loan debacle?
I know. I read that this morning in the New York Times after reading the casual approach to the rule of law. And then, the next story is, another court said you can't do that with student loans. He just keeps trying to go around the law.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
The court overturned his latest attempt at student loans. The same day, he announced another attempt for, I think it was $1.5 billion of student loan relief. I mean, he is addicted to giving away money to these people. It's incredible.
His unwillingness to accept electoral defeat and his actions that have resulted in $83 million in penalties, nearly 36 felony convictions, and additional legal trouble ahead. I mean, that's how they start. You've got to be, you're just under the spell of witchcraft if you buy into any of that. But on Thursday night, with his right ear still bandaged 5 days after he was wounded by a would-be assassin's bullet. Okay, can we talk about that for a second, Stu?
Sure.
The bandage. What they're trying to say here is he didn't need the bandage. Do you think he needed the bandage still?
Yes. My guess is that his ear looks pretty funky right now, and he doesn't necessarily want to walk out on stage with it looking that way.
Yeah, I was actually hoping that he would take off the bandage because I think his ear probably looks worse. He lost the top of his ear. And, that's kind of a... you have to be... there's conspiracies throwing around. Now, a third of Democrats believe that he set this up with the Secret Service. What, to have his ear blown off? How delusional do you have to be? First of all, he's not the guy who's got the in with the Secret Service and, the spy agencies and everything else. The conspiracy it falls apart pretty quickly,
it's not rational by any means. And this is something, Glenn, you see in polling every single time. If there is a conspiracy theory about your political opponent, about a third of people will believe it no matter what it is. That is like, now you can get higher than that. The Democrats, about 50% of them believed 9/11 was an inside job when George W. Bush was president. You can find numbers that get higher, but like the baseline number for a conspiracy theory against your political opponent is about a third. It just is. Like, it's people, a lot of people just taking the position they think hurts their opponent more than them actually believing it, I hope. But there are a lot of people. I mean, Joy Reid is on television every single day talking about this stuff. I mean, they threw poor Joe Scarborough off the air. What did they think this guy was going to say? I mean, what do they think of Joe Scarborough if they leave Joy Reid on the air?
I never thought of it that way.
That's amazing.
You're exactly right. Yeah. So here, let me just switch gears here. Joy Reid posted a video of herself working through a bizarre conspiracy theory suggesting that the Secret Service helped Donald Trump to create the defiant photo image from the shooting. She noted the Biden campaign released a lot of detailed medical information about his condition within minutes of the announcement that he had contracted COVID-19 again. But when it comes to what happened on Saturday with former President Donald Trump, this assassination attempt, we know almost nothing about his medical condition. Bum, bum, bum. How come no one has any information about this wound? We still don't know for sure whether Donald Trump was hit by a bullet or whether he was hit by glass fragments, whether he was hit by shrapnel. We don't have any of those details. Glass fragments. Where were the glass fragments from? Was that the teleprompter that they say was hit?
There was an initial report. I don't remember who reported it, but there was a report that it was glass fragments, and it wasn't even a liberal reporter. I remember reading it and being like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then about 5 minutes later, you could see pictures of it where both of the teleprompters are still fully intact. I mean, it was a crazy theory that was debunked immediately, but people like Joy Reid, who are impossibly stupid, continue to believe it.
And we have a picture, unlike anything I've ever seen, a picture of the bullet in flight as it's about to hit his head. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think it's actually
could have been a fly, a really big mosquito. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, I think the picture is it's just after it passes his head. But yes, I mean, it is about as, I mean, it's one of the most incredible photos ever taken, and the photographer who took it has basically the most impossible photo you can take, and it's still not the iconic photo of the incident, which is like kind of a. I mean, you go through you caught a bullet in your picture, and still like somebody else got the picture of him standing up with his fist up, with the blood streaming down his face, which is still the iconic photo of that day. But I mean, it's just so stupid. They believe everything. They believe that the bandage is fake, that he didn't actually get injured. Like, I don't know. I thought it was glass that hit him. Now he didn't get injured at all. Doesn't need the bandage. I mean, it's just everything they come up with is dumber and dumber.
They're just crazy. Really, truly crazy about him. I think they lose all reason. And for Joy Reid to be on the air on MSNBC is remarkable. And not because they should fire her because of her points of view. I don't believe in that. Just because she's dumb as a box of rocks, man.
Yeah.
She's crazy. She is crazy.
To be fair, I don't think Joy Reid has lost all reason. She just didn't have it at any point. So it's impossible to lose for her in particular.
All right.